I returned to the village only because my father was dying. They said he had maybe 2 weeks. Lung cancer, left untreated for too long. A lifetime of incense and cold mountain wind had hollowed him out, and now he lay in the shrine he had served his entire life, a place so old and quiet it seemed outside time. I hadn't spoken to him in years. Not since I left the village as a teenager. The train ride back was long and winding, cutting through hills covered in thick pine and ghostly mist. As I stepped off at the unmanned platform, it was as if I had stepped back into another life. The village hadn't changed. The rice fields still bowed in the wind. The air still smelled like cypress and damp stone. The shrine gate still stood at the edge of the forest, red paint flaking away like skin. But something felt off, a stillness beneath the cicadas, an absence pressing in behind every shuttered window. And then I saw her. Aiko. She stood behind the counter at her family's old dango shop, wearing the same red apron I remembered. When she spotted me, she froze for a moment, then gave me a soft smile. It hit me harder than I expected. Like nothing had changed, even though everything had. "You came back," she said, handing me a cup of tea without asking. We talked long into the evening. Her grandmother, Reiko-san, shuffled behind the paper walls, lighting the lanterns and pretending not to eavesdrop. Aiko had stayed after her parents died, working the shop, taking care of her grandmother, watching the village shrink into its own silence. She laughed about it, but I could see the tiredness behind her eyes. "You probably don't remember," she said, stirring her tea, "but you promised you'd never forget me." "I didn't forget," I said. "But I had. Or at least, I had tried." As children, Aiko and I were inseparable. From the moment we could walk, we were running wild through the woods that wrapped around the village. We made forts out of fallen bamboo and played hide-and-seek near the stone grave markers, daring each other to go farther into the trees. She was always braver than me. She dared me to climb higher, run deeper, laugh louder. It was Aiko who first dragged me into the cypress grove behind the shrine, where we found an old boundary stone half buried under moss. She swore it was haunted. I think that made her like it even more. We got caught once, or maybe more than once, by the elders. Old man Sasaki thrashed our legs with a bamboo stick and made us kneel outside the shrine for hours. "You stir the wrong shadows, and we all suffer," he said, pointing toward the mountain. "Some things should sleep forever." We didn't listen. Or maybe we were too young to understand. Aiko always said she'd stay in the village, take over the dango shop, and care for her grandmother when the time came. "You'll probably leave," she once told me, poking a stick at the dirt as we sat under the old torii gate. "But I'll remember. I'll keep this place alive." I told her I wouldn't leave. I lied. When I turned 16, I ran. I couldn't take the weight of my father's expectations. He wanted me to follow in his footsteps, to become the next monk, to chant the old sutras, to bear the burden of the shrine. But I didn't want rituals and incense. I wanted trains, cities, noise, and the freedom to disappear. I left after a final, burning argument. He turned his back on me, and I never looked back. Until he fell ill. The shrine looked even older than I remembered. Vines crept between the stone steps, and the once bright Shime-na-wa rope above the entrance had gone gray with age. Inside, everything was exactly where it had always been. Ritual tools were arranged in neat rows. Old talismans hung from the beams like brittle leaves. My father lay curled on a futon in the back, breath shallow, eyes half closed. "You're too late," he rasped, his voice a whisper of smoke. "She's awake." At first, I thought he meant death. But when I asked, he said her name, a name I hadn't heard since we were children, whispered in ghost stories. Hasshaku-Sama. The 8-foot woman. The spirit who lingers at the edges of the village, who takes those who wander too far. Her hat hides her face. Her voice sounds like wine through a bell tower. She doesn't kill. She takes. And no one ever comes back. You broke the chain, my father said. You were supposed to take my place. The shrine's power is thinning. The seals are failing. She can smell weakness. She can smell longing. That night, the wind died. I woke to silence so deep it felt physical. And then I heard it. Po, po, po. The sound wasn't loud, it was far, yet intimate, like it was coming from inside the walls. It echoed with the rhythm of a funeral bell. I looked through the paper screen. She was there. Hasshaku-Sama. She stood across the field, at the edge of the shrine's boundary. 8 feet tall, dressed in white, her limbs too long, too still. Her wide-brimmed hat shadowed her face, and her hair spilled out in inky strands. She didn't move. But she watched. And then, slowly, she turned, and walked toward the dango shop. I ran barefoot across the grass. The village was dead quiet. Reiko-san met me at the door, her face pale and trembling. She heard the voice last night, she said. Didn't tell me. Didn't want anyone to worry. Inside, Aiko's futon was empty. Her red apron was neatly folded beside the hearth. I went back to the shrine and demanded answers. My father sat up with effort, gripping the edge of his bedding. She didn't want Aiko, he said. She wanted you. But you were raised here. Surrounded by the old rites. You're soaked in incense and sutra. She can't touch you. But Aiko. She had my scent, I whispered. My father nodded. From when you were children. From all the years you shared. It clung to her. And now she's claimed it. I grabbed his staff, wrapped myself in his robes, and stormed into the forest. I knew where Aiko would be. The cypress grove. The place where we carved our names. I found her standing beneath that ancient tree, her back to me. Her hair flowed in the breeze. She was humming something. A lullaby, maybe. One we used to sing. Aiko, I said, my voice catching. Come home. She turned slowly. Her eyes shimmered with tears. She showed me everything, she said, voice soft. What comes after? What waits? It's not cruel. It's just, quiet. You don't have to go. I do, she said. She chose me. And I'm tired. Tired of holding this place up alone. Tired of being left behind. Behind her, Hasshaku-Sama emerged from the mist. She didn't walk. She unfolded. Her dress dragged across the forest floor like fog. Her presence warped the air. My legs froze, my breath caught in my throat. She raised one pale arm toward Aiko. I stepped forward, holding my father's staff. The wards burned hot against my chest. She recoiled, slightly. She couldn't take me. But she could take her. Aiko smiled at me, the way she used to when we sat in the dirt, sticky with syrup and sun. I waited so long, she whispered. But it's okay. I'm not afraid anymore. She stepped back into the folds of Hasshaku-Sama's white dress. And vanished. The forest fell silent. My father died 2 days later. He never spoke again. The village burned the shrine after his funeral, claiming the rites were too dangerous to be left unattended. I wasn't allowed to speak at the ceremony. You opened the door, one elder said. You don't get to come back. So I didn't. I moved to Tokyo. Got a job in a concrete tower. 16-hour days. Deadlines. Coffee and back pain, and meetings that mean nothing. People ask why I don't date, don't travel, and don't talk much. They don't understand. Sometimes, late at night, I sit in the office break room, staring at the vending machine, and I think about Aiko. About the way she laughed. About how I promised I'd stay, and how she remembered when I didn't. My choice to leave gnaws at me like a lifelong rash, keeping me up at night. The long days I spent training with my father come to mind. It wasn't without its good times, and yet, when I was younger, I magnified the bad. Forgot the warmth that surrounded me in town, Aiko's gentle voice, and the satisfaction of completing a day's training. All traded in for a bed of paper cuts, and a shower where I drown in ink. And sometimes, in those quiet moments, I hear it. Po, po, po. Faint, but steady. Like something still searching for the last piece of a story. And I wonder if I should have let go. If I should have followed after Aiko, into the folds of that pale white dress. To see the end of the world together, died gently in its hem.